we will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must celebrate it. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
Come on, man. I took up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he's the DB of the show. We are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And today we're bringing you back inside the locker room where we talk about topics in and around the game. MH, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So the Naismith NBA Hall of Fame just happened this last week, and we had a decent roster of people come in, and it was kind of like an induction delayed, right, because of COVID restrictions and things like that. But it was good to see everything go down. This they were in Massachusetts, I believe, man. So you got that list of who all went in?
Yeah, Springfield, Mass. Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Eddie Sutton, who's a coach, Rudy Tomjanovich, hope I said it right, coach.
Right.
Tamika Catchings, famous WNBA. Kim Mulkey, also a coach. Barbara Stevens, a coach at a Division III. And Patrick Baumann, a contributor to kind of some international basketball, particularly in Africa in the Olympics. So, good class.
No, it was a decent class, man. Didn't really spend a lot of time watching it. Did you get a chance to kind of tune in or follow up on it?
Yeah, I always like to look at it every year. They do it a little different than the Pro Football Hall of Fame because it's not necessarily just the pros. It's kind of basketball united, I guess is a good way to describe it.
The correlation of basketball and
yeah. It's a celebrating about basketball. I mean, there's a number of people that probably have opportunities to make the Hall of Fame that are not in the NBA. The way it's going, but no, I obviously highlighted Kobe getting in and Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett. It's like really getting old now to see, folks that we kind of grew up on watching and coming up to, have their long careers and walk into the Hall of Fame is kind of crazy.
Well, I'm glad you kind of point those out. I mean, that's really, the people that stick out when you read off that list, man. So, KG was kind of said he was up first, right? I mean, he was he said he wanted to go first, and he had one of the shortest, speeches. So what did you think about his speech and him getting in? Yeah,
I mean, he took it back to his roots, talked about his intensity came from his mom in South Carolina. I don't know if a lot of people understand that about his story because it seems like his story starts high school in Chicago. And then, Isaiah Thomas was his presenter. So the fact that he brought it back to the original, shout out to South Carolina. And then obviously Chicago, who, developed this game. And then he shout out Spencer Haywood, who kind of paved the way for the guys like him and Kobe to come out of high school to have the opportunity. I remember KG as I remember he was the kid before he was big ticket, before he just became this angry KG.
Right.
And then to see him in the Hall of Fame giving a speech, smiling and didn't cuss at all was surprising to me.
He was super happy up there, man. I mean, he was definitely super happy. I giggled, of course, chuckled when he shot out Paul Pierce, which we'll get into that a little later. But I just thought that was funny. But no, it was great for him to pay homage, and I think that's the time you do that, when you get celebrated or recognized, because it's the whole thing, the village, right? You had a lot of people helping hand, and he started with Mom Dukes and getting that tenacity from her. I didn't know the Isaiah part, so that was good for him to say that, he gave me good advice and told me nah, man, just go ahead and get this check, man. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and get that.
Get this bread, man. You got ready to play. Yeah.
You ready. They ain't seen nothing like you, man. So that was good. And you did really hit, because what's awesome is it is the 50th anniversary of Spencer Haywood rule. So that was rule, and he was the first one. And of course, the rule has been called, most people heard of as the one and done or the portal or, transfer, but the hardship rule, excuse me. So it was good to see him pay a tribute to Spencer. They shot him out in the crowd, but also, just some of the other guys that came before him. So it was good that he did that. That was dope.
For sure, man.
Up next was for me, I was just kind of, like I said, perusing through it with Tim. He was interesting, because you never heard him really speak. So I was
not for that long, for sure.
Correct. Like just after game interview stuff, and then especially as a professional to get your like speaking to the media kind of awareness or whatever from Coach Pop. So it wasn't like he had someone that was really adamant to speak to the public. So, it was good to see him get up there. But, the first thing he acknowledged was like, I hate doing this.
Yeah. It was really good. I mean, shout out to the Virgin Islands who brought him up as a swimmer. Knowing that fact, I didn't know through some adversity and hardship with his family that was kind of the reason why he turned to basketball. I didn't know that portion of his story. Right. And also didn't know he can grow dreads at this point. I don't know what part of it.
Okay, when he walked, I was like, "Hold on, what is this hair?" And like, of course, I saw it before when he was, going to be a coach.
Yeah.
But that was just in passing. So to sit there and like look at it for a long time, I was like,
Yeah, he's still hanging on to these bangs. I don't know when he about to go back to the fade.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, to see that was kind of interesting. And then, shout out to, Tim Duncan for, or to the recruiting process. They kind of said like, hey, you want to play with these random guys. And there's some NBA guys that would come to the islands and he played Wake Forest. Yeah. Wake Forest coach saw him, gave him opportunity, and he played for 4 years. And, he's Tim Duncan as we know it. Who doesn't get shout out enough or recognized enough with his accomplishments. At 5 championships is 5 championships, and he was
straight up,
a figurehead of those championships. So he doesn't get enough love.
And then to come out of a shadow, right? Like the biggest thing is like if you played under LeBron and you had to replace him or Magic or any of those like elite team, like the Admiral, like I mean, he was the Spurs, right? Yeah. And to be in the big as well. To come like, okay, be Twin Towers and like, okay, I'm under his shadow and still like do the things that he's done, man. No, this is definitely, you're right. He doesn't get that credit or those kudos. I saw him shout out Pop. That was, Pop looked like he was cussing him out under his mask. Yeah.
Pop done went full Saw, Jigsaw from Saw with that flow.
Flow, right?
Yeah.
No, man, but I love Pop though, man. He's definitely an ally in the game. And then one of the capstones, of course, was just having the Kobe thing situation where Vanessa got up and she did her thing, and I mean that was powerful for her to with that strength to get up there that long, and how everything she put together, I just think was dope. I just think it was an amazing sentiment. And I like what she said, I know if you were here, who you would think, you would think, but I want to thank you. And I was like, yo, that's Boss. Cause he was the one, that did it. So, definitely like her message, and interesting to have, MJ up there doing it.
Yeah. It didn't get any easier. After watching it, I felt all type of sad for the rest of the day. It just doesn't really get easy. It's been over a year since he passed. And it's just like kind of that same feeling like, dang, Kobe, really isn't here to get this award. And she said something that I think is really big and touching. She said, I'm not going to thank, everybody or try to shout out names because I don't want to leave anybody out. Mm-hmm. That really, I don't know, straight a chord with me because you kind of see what greatness is from a different perspective. Kobe probably walked the path that, not a lot of people walked.
Right.
And sometimes in reaching greatness in any profession or any walk of life, you kind of got to walk those paths alone. So, the fact that she was there for the majority of that career or that path to greatness. And, she didn't really know who to thank or didn't want to leave anybody out is interesting, right? And then at the same time, the Hall of Fame is kind of that time where we've heard the phrase that says it takes a village. Well, the Hall of Fame is that time for that person that's getting in the Hall of Fame to really shout out that village.
Yep.
So we missed that little portion there. I'm glad she mentioned Kobe's his parents. I know that's been kind of a controversy, but obviously they gave birth and raised him to be Kobe Bryant. So I'm glad he mentioned them, and then obviously Kobe's sister. I was just glad she mentioned something from Kobe's side. I don't know what the relationship was like,
right?
But they definitely had a part in his upbringing and for him being in the Hall of Fame. So
they brought him in this world, like you said. Right? That's the big part.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is definitely tough because she wasn't in all of those kind of conversations, man. You could think about. I'm drawing a blank, but I believe there was someone that we had on the show that talked about how he would come in and work, and he'd be in the gym, and he was Jay talking about how he work in the gym, and those are those things where those interactions that he has, and we saw a lot of it when he passed. Just everybody, like, you realize how much he touched everyone. So we missed some of those moments, or for him to shine those lights on the people. That he had those intimate things. And I like the other thing that he shared she shared about why he always played through, pain and things like that, remembering the fans, because he was there. And I don't know if a lot of times sports and athletes really have that connection, because we have so much access to them now with, all the social media and the other things that people do, and like they have their own podcasts and all those other forms. We touch really athletes more than we did back in the days when it was saving up, sitting up in the nosebleeds to go to a game. So I thought that was really dope when she shared that. Yeah,
no, him and KG and even Tim Duncan, they were kind of the connecting pieces to kind of some eras, right?
Yeah,
they came at the end of that Jordan 90s era. And then they kind of came through, obviously, the Lakers era, and then they played into the LeBron era, or wherever you want to call this era now. So they're really the connecting piece to a lot of eras. So that's like basketball royalty. I don't know. It is, to your point, they were on the part where you didn't really have connection with them. It was only through the nosebleeds, and then they're at this point where you can DM them too, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. That is cool. That is cool.
Definitely shout out to Tamika Catchings. It was good to see, because she's still like really heavily involved in what's going on in the WNBA and with the Pacers and the Fever franchise. So definitely the 25th year with the WNBA, all the strides and the things that they're doing. It's good to see them still recognizing and putting the people that are deserving of that as well. Yeah,
and she battled through adversity herself with having trouble hearing and speaking, and succeeding through that. That's an inspiration to not just young women, but just, people in general that may go through some hard times or some adversity or have some elements that they can't control.
Right. So you did start off saying kind of like some similarities or differences. How do you look at, the Hall of Fame versus how the NFL does it?
Like I said, I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I think it's a little easy. Easier is a bad way to put it, but
okay.
It's cool. At the same time, it's cool that they reach everybody. I think Barbara Stevens was a Division III coach.
Okay.
For her to get love is cool to be in the Hall of Fame.
You were talking earlier before we did the pre-show stuff. You were talking about the media people. So I think Wilbon got something in Shaq and them received some, participation certificate.
Yeah, they got a transformative media award inside the NBA, and it is.
But no, they changed the game like 100%. We should just do a show on the joy that they bring to the game. So it's cool. it doesn't seem like it's much of a celebration. It's definitely it's like a family reunion more than a celebration.
So you calling it Coming to America too? That's what you just called it.
You like how I did that? Well, no, because it doesn't seem like, it's ever really been a fan centric, to where the Shield, you go to the Hall of Fame, they're doing like, the teams are there, the crowds are there, they actually have a game and events around it, to where the Hall has a lot of events, but it's really for the older players and the younger players that get together, the inductees and their past teams and players and who's representing them. So it just seems more of like a close-off situation. Yeah,
I mean, football does seem like more of a elite fraternity that you get in if you get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But also I think it might just be the nature of the games, right? We know the basketball player because we've seen his face for 20-something years.
That part.
We don't necessarily know the football player because he's behind a helmet in a jersey, and we're at least 200 feet away from him in the stands, right?
Absolutely.
Or watching it on TV. So, like, you don't really know what that person really looks like or his story, typically.
22 people on the field.
Correct. And the camera's only on the quarterback for the most part, right? So,
right.
So we don't really see them or know them like that. So I think that may be a little reason why it's different.
So moving forward, man, 2021, they announced, of course, the list, but, just shining on some of the top names on that list. I think they're doing 16 members for next year. And so we spoke on the truth. Mr. Chris Paul is going to be inducted. So question for Paul Pierce, excuse me. Who you think would be his representative or whatever they call him that's going to induct him? Who do you think he would choose?
I don't know.
Don't say one of them strippers.
We're gonna say that.
But you were thinking it.
Yeah, I was really thinking somebody from a tip drill video about early 2000s. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a good one, right? So, we'll leave that to the fans. If y'all have someone, who do you think Paul Pierce would have? Chris Bosh is coming in. I wonder if Chris, because Chris was doing those weird hairstyles, man. So he may be rocking them Duncan dreads, and then your boy Chris Webber.
Yeah, C
Webb after. Because I don't know the period, but he's been waiting. He's been eligible for like 9 years to get in. So
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Overdue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overdue. He's a staple of not just NBA basketball. He never had that, I guess, huge individual success or team success on the NBA level. Mm-hmm. But he's also the staple of college basketball in a movement. And I guess they didn't win a national championship either, but he more than deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And it was super cool. Him and Jalen Rose connected on. They had like it was a pregame before one game, and Jalen Rose was interviewing C. Webb after the Hall of Fame was announced. See them talking they haven't been on opposite sides for so long,
right?
So to see them talking and telling each other they love each other, man, that's how it should be.
That's definitely how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully things will be more open and it'll be a different time, man. We're getting on that right trend. But you got anything else for the people?
Nah, man. I've been arguing with some folks about who's, every time the Hall of Fame comes up, you always say like, does this current player, would he make the Hall of Fame? Would this current player make the Hall of Fame?
Right.
And I'm so sick of hearing about Draymond Green being in the Hall of Fame. Although he probably will, come on, man, that's not a Hall of Fame player. So we got to figure out the rules and the qualification that it takes to get in the Hall of Fame.
We definitely. With the NBA, it seems a lot of that stuff is shaky, right? Because the MVP, we're still. How many votes is Julius getting?
He should get at least a fourth of the votes.
He's moved up. He's top 5 now. He's 4th now. Okay.
Oh yeah, he should get a fourth of the votes. No doubt.
There you go. Well, hold on. So, anyone else in that conversation besides Draymond that the argument led to?
Well, so Ben Wiles was a part of this most recent class as well, and I mean, you could. I don't think Ben Wiles could shoot better than me, right? So, obviously, he did other things than just shoot, but I think it matters in basketball. It's not like a defensive end that just only is a defensive end. Like you actually have to play offense. That's part of the game. And if you can't shoot better than Booby that's sitting here, then I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame either.
Oh, that's funny. Well, let us know if you think there's anyone that should or questionable as far as the Hall of Fame classes through the years. We thank you for checking out the show. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can catch the show anywhere that podcasts are played. So check us out. Stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.